Hello, in today's video we're going to be looking at how you can pay an employee above the award. A question we get asked commonly is that a client wants to use our award templates, but they want to pay their staff above an award rate. And there's a few different scenarios that we come across that are common that you can apply to your particular situation. So what we're going to be taking a look at is that we want to pay a higher rate to the employee regardless of the age they're on. So in other words, we don't want to use the junior rates. Another example is we want to pay above the award by, say, $2 an hour, but the pay conditions and the leave all stays the same. So we're just going to pay an extra amount per hour. Another alternative is we want to pay above the award with a higher base rate, but relax some of the pay conditions. So we're going to pay a little bit more of an amount, but we might not pay something like an allowance and those sorts of things. So we'll look at how to do that as well. And finally, we want to check if our arrangement that we've come up with is better off for the employee than the award was. This is important because when you modify an award or you relax some conditions and those sorts of things, the employee has to be at least better off than they would have been under the award. In other words, the award stipulates some minimum conditions for that employee. So we give you a simple way of being able to check a week or a fortnight at a time to decide whether or not the employee was at least better off in what they were paid. So let's take a look first of all. We have a test business. We've got an employee in here, and we're going to look first of all at how we can pay this employee a higher rate regardless of their age. So let's click on our employee first of all and go to pay run defaults. When you go to the pay run default screen, we have an award that we've selected and we have an employment agreement. In this case, the employment agreement is a hospitality level 1 for a full-time employee. When we're choosing an employment agreement, what we're actually choosing is a rate of pay as well as a set of rules that define how the employee should be paid, what we call a pay condition rule set, and a series of leave templates. So in this case, we've got one for each different state. What we need to do in this case is we're going to use an adult rate instead of a junior rate for the employee. But the reason the junior rate is being applied is because it belongs to an employment agreement. And the employment agreement defines what the employee should be paid for each age that they are. So to turn that off, we're going to turn off that we're using an award. And we're not going to use an employment agreement either. However, the pay rate template says 17 years old still. The pay condition rule set still says permanent hospitality, and we still have the same leave allowance template. So currently all the elements are still the same. All we've turned off is the ability to make it progress through the ages. To turn this into an adult rate, because it's still sitting at 17 years old, let's drop down my list. I'm going to choose the level 1 20 years and over, which is the adult rate. It's now changed the rate of pay to $17.79. If my award updates later and the adult rate changes, because this employee is still tied to this template, they'll still get that increase. However, it'll ignore the effects of when they have a birthday for when they're 17, 18, 19, etc. So when you're happy with those details, go down to the bottom and click Save. The next scenario we're going to look at is where we want to pay above the award by $2 an hour, but the pay conditions and the leave all stays the same. So what we can do in this case is we can create our own pay rate template. Go to Business and Payroll Settings and scroll down to Pay Rate Templates. Where it says Your Pay Rate Templates, choose the Hospitality Industry General Award from the list. Scroll down to the template that you'd like to modify. In this case, I'm going to say the Hospitality Permanent Level 1 20 years and over. And then click the clone button by hovering over it and clicking the clone button. We have an opportunity to call it something different, so I'm going to call it Hospitality plus $2 and click OK. And now in my list of pay rates, I have a hospitality permanent level 1, $20 and over plus $2, which I can use. However, what if we wanted to do this and we still wanted to use the age-based progression that we have in our employment agreement? In other words, we want $2 to be an increase across every single pay rate template in the system. We can achieve that by clicking Export, and I choose a CSV and download. Open that file up in your favorite spreadsheet program. What we can do here is we can copy and paste all of the existing pay rate templates that are in this spreadsheet. So I'm just going to highlight them all and press copy. And I'm going to go down to the bottom here and I'm going to paste and remove all of the IDs that are recorded. So the ID column will be blank for our new ones. We might want to give these a different name to tell them apart. So next is a case of just finding the pay categories that we want to change and adding $2 to the value. So in this case we've got casual ordinary hours. We want to add $2 to each of these. So I'm just going to, in a new column, just say +2. Copy those and just paste them over the top of the new ones. Paste special just as a value. Then they've got the $2 increase. So it might take a little while to configure your spreadsheet correctly, but once you get it right, it's a method of being able to make a bulk change and increasing everything by $2. So I'm now going to download this spreadsheet as a CSV. Go back to KeyPay and choose Import. I can select the file or just drag it in and upload it. Now that's done, you can take it a step further and create new employment agreements using these new pay rate templates. Let's recreate a hospitality level 1. Hover over it and choose the copy button. Click on the new copied agreement. Change the name to +$2. You can leave everything as is, but when you get to the pay rate template section, you might want to choose the +$2 amount instead of the base rate. Using this technique, we're still able to do age-based progression, but now instead of having the flat rate, we now have a rate +$2, and as the employee has a birthday, it'll increase. Just a quick note on this technique: while we're using a pay rate template initially to make our new pay rate template that has the additional $2, there's no option to have those automatically updated whenever we have award changes. So if we have award changes, you will need to go and repeat the process and increase the award rate by $2 for all of your manually created pay rate templates. Let's go to our employee now and go to pay run defaults. And this time we want to choose our custom agreement of hospitality level 1 +$2 full time. There's a new $12 rate instead of the old $10 rate, and all the other details are preserved. Click Save once you're happy with that, and you can go through and complete that exercise for your entire workforce. The third condition is that we want to pay above the award with a higher base rate and maybe relax some of the pay conditions that we have. So I'm going to use this same example as this employee. This employee is going to be on a predefined rate. So we're not going to use an agreement. We're not going to use a pay rate template. We're going to put this employee on $20 an hour. But contingent on that $20 is some of the allowances and penalty rates and that sort of thing that the employee would otherwise be entitled to won't apply to this particular employee. So I'm going to save that. And we're going to go to Business, Payroll Settings. And the first thing we're going to do is unlock the award so we can make modifications. Go to Manage Awards. And if it says unlocked here, we're okay. If it doesn't, go to Actions and click Unlocked. Next, we go to the rule set. The rule set that this employee has at the moment is permanent hospitality. So we can either edit the rules that are there, or we can create our own brand new rule set as well. To create our own brand new rule set, go to Edit Rules, go into your rule set, go to the URL at the top, double click where it says Rules, and type the word clone, and enter. You'll see some information on screen. When you see that, hit the back button on your browser, click on the Rule Set button. We now have a new permanent hospitality rule set, which has been copied from the award one. I'm going to give it a different name. I'm going to call it Modified. I'm going to click Edit Rules. And I can now make modifications to all the rules that are in here. So for example, if I decided that the Saturday penalty shift no longer applied, I can disable that rule. If I decided that the weekday shift didn't apply on a Friday night, I can take Friday out of that equation. For more details on how to work with rule sets, I suggest you use the Rule Set Recipes video series, which teaches you details on how to modify rule sets. But this is just an example of how we can modify this to suit our particular employee's conditions. Once you're happy with your changes, click Activate Draft Rules. Go back to the employee. Go down to Pay Run Defaults. And assign our new pay condition rule set template that we've just created, called Permanent Hospitality Modified. Now our employee has a new pay condition rule set with modifications that we've made, compared with some of the conditions that might have come out of the award, but they do have a higher rate of pay to what they would have been getting, which previously was $10 an hour, to compensate for that. So that's how you would set it up so that only some of the conditions might apply, or none of the conditions at all, depending on how you set it up, but the employee gets a higher rate of pay. So the last thing we're going to look at is how do we test this to make sure that the employee is getting more at least than what they would have got on a particular workday. Well, we do that by using the Rule Tester feature. If you go to Business and Settings, click on Rule Sets, you have the option to test these rules. So go to Permanent Hospitality, click Test Rules, and you have the option of entering some of these details. So I might enter a sample of shifts, and these might reflect the shifts that the employees worked for the previous week. And I can choose a particular level. So remember, our employee was on level 1, so I'm going to find level 1 hospitality 17 years, run it as a full-time test, and it'll give me a shift cost for each day, so I've got $96.03. I can then compare that to what the employee would have got if they're on $20 an hour. So in this case, I've given it 8 hours a day. So on that 8-hour day, the employee would have got $160. under the award they're getting $96, so I know that the employee's received enough, depending on what the conditions have been, to compensate for losing the conditions that they've got. So it is a manual process, but there is a check and measure in there to make sure that you are paying at least the award rate for the particular employee. If you have any questions, as always, get in contact with us at support@yourpayroll.com.au, and we're happy to run through your scenarios and help you set up your employees so that your payroll is an easy process. Thanks very much.